The best Pirates talk is right here. Trib Total Media. See what's next. The Clint Hurdle Show on TribLIVE Radio is brought to you by White Deer Run, Cove Prep of State College.
Just past the quarter pole of the 2014 Major League season, and joining us for his semi-monthly visit here on TribLIVE Radio to talk about his ball club, we say hello to Pirates manager Clint Hurdle. Clint, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we get to your current team, Clint, it's the 35th anniversary of the Pirates-Orioles 79 series, all the alumni in town. You were telling tales about in the pregame show. You were a ball player in 79 with Kansas City. I was wondering, what do you remember about that year? And you, I'm sure, matched head-to-head with that Baltimore team several times. The Pirates would go on to beat that year.
We did play Baltimore, obviously, within the American League scheduling, and they were a very, very good team. That's back in the heyday of their pitching prominence. Got to see Jim Palmer yesterday behind the cage, talk to Jim. He was on that staff, Scotty McGregor, Mike Flanagan, Dennis Martinez. Just good pitchers, good bullpen work, a very well-orchestrated team, defensively sound, power, some platoon opportunities, and, of course, what better than Earl Weaver managing the club and what Earl brought to the ballpark every night. So that was always engaging, and then watching as the season unfolds and they win the American League Championship and go on to play the Pirates. Seeing them from afar, we get to spend spring training. We were in Fort Myers, so I can remember watching that team and just, the size, the brawn, and also just a great assortment of characters. So as that team moved forward, I think the level of commitment, the connectedness, the family mentality, the unselfishness, the energy, the enthusiasm, all just jumped out at you, absolutely jumped out at you. And I think those uniforms were basically, a footprint of who they were, of truly who they were. And it was an awesome team to watch. It was a very enjoyable series for the fans and for baseball.
And, of course, family was the big theme here, too. And I know you talked about that in your pregame yesterday, as that's the key to any good ball club. The record of your current team, Clint, 18-26. I was looking back to your 07 Rockies team, and you guys had the same record, the one that went on to win the pennant that year. I know every year's different, but when you look back on that season, you guys were 500 by mid-June. You really came out of it pretty quick. Do you recall what it was that sparked you?
Yes. I mean, we pitched. At the end of the day, pitching is the biggest part of that machine that moves the car. And we were able to get a rotation together that gave us quality innings, kept us in games. It wasn't really a Rockies team that was associated with the Blake Street Bomber days when I was a hitting coach. But it was just a very good baseball team, and the pitching came together. We nailed down, solidified the bullpen. We've had some missteps out there. We moved Corpus to closer, moved Fuentes to the 8th. We had LaTroy Hawkins in the 7th and Jeremy Affelt. And then the starting pitching took off. We had Ubaldo Jimenez, Franklin Morales. We actually had 2 rookies in the rotation. And we used 10 different pitchers the second half of the season, even after the first half. So, but it came down to the pitching part of it. We played very good defense. Matter of fact, one of the highest fielding percentages ever in baseball that year. And offensively, we just connected the dots. We had good bats. So the things that we need to do here, we're mindful of. That there is a lot of common fabric in this club right here. We've got people and players and pitchers that have done the job in the past. It is time for us to step forward and to get down some consistent play sooner than later.
Well, that's proof, Exhibit A, that it certainly can be done. It's by no means too late. It is a new experience for you here. Your last 3 starts, the last 3 years here in Pittsburgh, have been pretty good starts. Do you sense any of that with the current team that, boy, this is something different, or is everybody staying pretty calm?
Well, you're the first guy that ever talked about the 2 starts, not the horrible finishes we had the first 2 years. So that's a different spin on things. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Got it.
Well, as you said, not every year is going to be the same. And who would want it to be, truthfully, unless, you wire from wire and you win it. And how many times do you see that? We've been challenged. There's no doubt about it. We haven't played up to our capabilities. We have have more than ample time to get this thing right. I do believe the division is going to settle. I do believe every team in the division is going to have a shot at this thing. You know, the Cubs, where they go is where they go, but they're finding their way to scratch and claw and win some games. But we can match up with the Brewers. We could definitely match up with the Reds and the Cardinals. We got to play better. And it's not about talking about it. It's about going out and doing it. And our men completely understand where we are at this point in time, what needs to be done to get this thing on track and get some momentum moving forward. And it starts, again, it's going to start off the mound. And the other component, 1A and 1B, we've got to pitch better. We've got to execute our pitches better. The home runs given up this year, 0-2 base hits, home runs, big innings, that has been challenging. And then the opportunity to drive in runs when they're out there. We have not been in a good place for that either.
We're joined by Pirates manager Clint Hurdle here on TribLIVE Radio. And when you referenced that 07 team moving some things around in terms of pitching, I'm sure that's often a temptation to make changes. Fans want to react real quick and do that. But in regards to like Liriano specifically last night, Clint, he's so good for 3 innings, and then for whatever reason it gets away from him there in 4 and 5. It was not a stuff thing, right? I mean, the velocity, the curveball, or is it? Do you look at exactly how things are going, or for him it's just as you said, you just got to pitch better and throughout the entire start?
Well, facts aren't feelings, and unfortunately, when you deal out with the external noise outside the clubhouse, you get a lot of feelings, you get a lot of emotions, a lot of emotional responses. Last week in Milwaukee, Liriano threw arguably his best or second best game of the year.
Right.
Okay, so 3 innings, it's the same thing. So now we've racked up 9 innings of nothing but good baseball. The 4th, that he missed his command. The 5th, everything was up and flat, and I don't know where the 34 pitches took stamina out of him to go back out for the 5th. He's done that before and bounced back admirably. So I don't make excuses. He said he was fine. The pitches weren't good. They weren't quality. They were flat, and they were up in the zone. He'll be the first one to tell you that. And against that ball club, they're going to get hammered, and that's what happens. So as far as moving things around, I'm not so sure that this is the time to move things around. It's not like it's with one guy. This is a team challenge more than anything else.
One positive story, I had a chance to talk to Jordy Mercer, your shortstop in the clubhouse yesterday, and his offense has really come around, Clint. He was praising you and the staff for sticking with him. The way he phrased it was you guys had his back since day one, and that kept his confidence up, but he knew it would come around eventually. Do you take that approach with a lot of guys, too? And that's a nice example here in the short term to look at as he's come around with the bat.
Well, it is, and there are some very positive things going on. Jordy's resurgence with the bat's one, and we all believed it would happen. Given the player the ability to play some challenges, just making sure that you're having honest communication with them, open communication, make sure they understand what's going on, how to leave his counterpunch, what he needs to do to fight back. He did. Had some challenges getting through, but now in the best place he's been all season. Looks like a guy we had at the plate the last 2 months of the season last year, not only hitting left-handers, but he's hitting some right-handers, very, very hard contact, playing good defense, never taking the bat out to the field. And that's always something you look for in players that don't have a lot of major league service time. And he continued to carry himself well, body language spoke well. So I always tell the guys, I'll believe in you as long as you believe in me. But when you're out, I'm out. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why in the world would I want to put you in the lineup? So Jordy never got to that place. He's going to be fun to watch the rest of the way in.
Well, last thing for you, Clint, back to the fans, and they all want to make changes and look to AAA to call everybody up. In terms of guys that come up and the hope that they'll make an immediate impact, is it more times survival mode? And that's a phrase that I think Neil Huntington threw out. They want to avoid guys being thrown up here and to be in survival mode right away. Is more times than not, is that what you see in the first couple of weeks? Or can it be the other way where one player or two can spark and turn a season around?
From my experience, you've watched a handful of players, young players, come up and spark a team. I think you saw it with a kid in L.A. You saw it with a kid in Washington. You've seen it with some pitchers. Strasburg, speaking of Strasburg and Harper, Puig, You see with a handful of guys, you saw Machado last year. Can it happen? Yes. What we're mindful of and just trying to pay attention to is the number of at-bats the guys in our rotation have that have come up to the major leagues: Marte, Alvarez, McCutchen, Walker, Tavita. And when the number hasn't been significantly above 500 at AAA at-bats, you watch the challenges Thomas having. You watch the challenges Marte ran into this year. You watch the challenges Alvarez is battling through. Look at your Machado's off to right now, even after the injury from where he was last year. You see a lot of surge and then the league counterpunches. So look at how Walker's stability has played out and McCutchen's stability has played out. Those are two guys that had over 500, well over 500 AAA at-bats. So can it happen? Yeah, it can happen. Is it going to have lasting impact, as Neil talks about, thriving versus surviving? That's the challenge, and that's the question we're trying to answer. And we want to make the decisions best for the ball club and best for the individual.
Clint, always enjoy our visits. Really appreciate it. We'll see you over at the Yard later this afternoon.
Thank you, Ken. Have a great day.
You too, Clint. Clint Hurdle, Pirates manager, and has been through this. And as he said, not the time, doesn't feel like this is the time to make those changes with the staff, with the rotation that he made with that 07 Rockies team. But we'll see. Heading towards past the quarter pole here and towards Memorial Day and that all-important Memorial Day piece and that look at a team and how they've gotten through the first 2 months.